5.
All right, here we are. Shop Class Podcast. We're back. And we got a super special guest, Audree Grubesic. I hope I said it okay.
Grubesic. You are so close. It's not easy.
Grubesic.
Grubesic. You got it.
And she is the founder and host of OffsiteDirt. Is that right?
That is right. Yeah.
And we're going to talk about what OffsiteDirt is. And she's an entrepreneur, contractor, consultant, done a whole bunch of stuff. Let me just give a little round table of who's in the room. We got a guest. Peter's in the house. How you doing, Peter? Okay. And we got Tim Zavacki, shop teacher, New Jersey. We got the tech fireman, upstate New York, high school shop teacher and fireman. We got Duke Lisowski, East Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania. How you doing?
What's going on?
All right. And we got Mark Willie in the house, T-Stud Man, Passive House Accelerator, and OffsiteDirt. Okay. So this is the Shop Class Podcast, and we're gonna dive into all things OffsiteDirt, and Audree's gonna give us a tour of her life. This is your life, basically.
Wow.
Yeah, it's on. So Duke's gonna roll out the first question. Take it away, Duke.
Already. First question. Audree, did you ever have shop class growing up?
Yes, I did. But I had it in middle school, not high school. Pretty crazy, right? So middle school for us was 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th grade. And I had it in 8th grade with Mr. Mann was the teacher.
Mr. Mann?
Mr. Mann.
That's perfect.
And we had, it was funny because I was listening to Shannon. You guys had Shannon on there from, what's Shannon's company, Mark?
Sanderson Sustainable Design.
Thank you. So she was talking about her project. And I remember for our project, it was like we had a square block and then we had to make little holes in it for like a game. That's all I really remember. And that's really good for me to remember that because I'm pretty old.
No, that's funny. You know, Duke teaches middle school shop.
You do, Duke?
Yeah,
I didn't know that. That's
kids.
Fantastic. So you get my vibe, like you get it.
Yeah, sometimes we'll still make games like there's IQ testers, tic-tac-toe.
Yeah.
What's those games over? What's the games over at the Cracker Barrel?
They have all of them. Yeah, like the IQ tester, frogs on a log.
With the golf tees that go in.
Yep.
And but that's really good that you did that in middle school because you know, I wish they would put the middle school programs back in. It's rare to have a shop class nowadays, but if you do, it's mostly in the high school. But if you teach high school shop, the problem is the kids coming up, they don't even know how to read a ruler. So we have to teach them about the pizza pie, you know, eighths. And then you cut, if you're on a diet, you cut the slice into a 16th, you know? So, yeah, but you know, it's too bad they don't have the middle school programs, but it's lucky Duke's got one.
I know, that's so unusual. I'm so glad to hear that. And we had shop class in high school, but I didn't take shop class. I took home economics because I wanted to learn how to cook and I wanted to learn how to sew.
Nice.
Which I'm good at cooking, but I was not very good at sewing, but yes. So we had shop class, but I just didn't take them.
Nice. And the ironic part about the sewing class and the cooking class is they put a lot of the girls in there, but then the chefs in real life are usually guys, and then
then there was the smart guys that actually were in the class because they wanted to be with all the girls and hang out. With
there
them.
You go. Yep.
I could see Mark in that class.
Nice. So that's cool. So we kind of like walk along the journey. So then let's say, so you took the shop class. Now, how did you get shop class, contractor, consultor, like, okay, there must have been.
How does that all work?
Yeah. What's the next step after the middle school?
It's so crazy. You know, I am like the serial entrepreneur. When I was in college, I was actually a communications major. So I was in TV. I actually worked at a TV station and I was a TV engineer. So I used
Wow.
to, yeah, that's actually, and I was always told, for all the people listening out there, when a teacher or somebody tells you that you can't do something, you don't listen, right? You do the opposite. So in college, I was told, and I went to Illinois State University, which is in Normal, Illinois, and the major stations were in Chicago. If you can get into Chicago, a third biggest market, that's really, really unusual for anybody in college. Usually you have to go through all of these different stations, smaller stations to build up to get to the big one. But I did a little different. What I did was, for my experience, because I worked at a Fox station in Normal, Illinois, and I graduated, I bothered all three major TV stations for 3 months straight, every day, asking them for an interview.
Wow.
And then finally I got it. And then I
Wow.
got a job at WBBM, which is the CBS affiliate. And I was an engineer. So I worked everything behind the scenes. I did mics, I did making commercials, I did mics, I did Chiron, which is basically the lettering that you see on TV. So I did everything behind the scenes. And then I went over to WLS TV, which was the ABC affiliate, which was #1 at the time, which was super exciting. And I worked in TV sports. So I was really good at editing, and I could edit really quick. And when you're working 2:30 to 10:30, most of the sports come in at 10 o'clock because the Bulls are ending or the Blackhawks are ending. And so you have to be really fast on getting that information and then getting it from the feed and then turning it over into a story. So I was really, really good at that. But I was one of the youngest.
Editing's
No.
not easy.
And it was not like it is today, where you had, I mean, this was like you take tape and then you have, I mean, it was really old school stuff that we did and how we edit it. But then they had Avid, which was a new technology, so we could use that kind of editing system. And it was super fun. I got to meet amazing people, and like Lester Holt, the guy that's on NBC, I actually worked with him. I worked with Bill Curtis. I've met Oprah Winfrey. I've met Michael Jordan. I've met a whole bunch of sports players. So it was really exciting to meet those people and genuinely know that they are good-hearted and just like the rest of us, which was always something that was cool about that job.
That is cool. That's an interesting start.
It is. So through that journey, I've learned everything from sales in billboards, TV, radio, direct response. I had my own advertising agency. I lived in Colorado, and then I actually got a job working for a magazine selling advertising, and I met my first luxury custom home builder.
Oh,
So this is all coming. Just hold on, it's coming, I swear.
No, that's okay.
So,
But you probably learned a lot about customer service and advertising from the TV industry.
Right. And then when you're selling radio, which is basically airtime, you're selling like nothing, right? You're really not selling anything but airtime. That was always difficult. And through that process, I learned all about marketing and knowing what it means to have a brand and know what it means to actually put a strategy together and build a platform of understanding who your audience is, like all those details. Just kind of like what you do at, the reason why the podcast is so interesting and so elevating for people is because they can listen, they can learn, and they can understand and relate. And that's what I think marketing and advertising really does if you're effective and you know who your audience is.
So, I have a take on this that I think I just want to emphasize what you just said. And I think a lot of people miss it because, knowing your audience. Now, this podcast mostly focuses on shop teachers and construction methods and technology and stuff like that. We haven't really talked about marketing that much, but I think that is missing in classes in high school. And also it's missing in the shop class because we usually don't make a product. We make a thing, like a one-off thing. So it's usually involved in the craftsmanship or the engineering. However, if you understand your audience, you could make a thing for maybe the school district or for the local customers. And I don't think that is explained very well. And I'll give you an example. Everyone knows someone that wanted to be a movie maker, right?
Mhm.
Like, so I have a friend of mine I grew up with. He wanted to be, you know, Spielberg and whatnot. And everybody makes that independent film when you're younger, right? But
Yep.
problem is, if it doesn't have an audience, like if the film is just for you, there's nobody's going to buy this film or watch it. You see? So
It's very true.
yes. So what I learned from that, and what I learned from serving an audience, as far as like, okay, I want to talk to the shop teachers because I want to serve them and I want to serve the community of you know, construction and technology. So I'm giving, right? And
Yeah.
so, but that's a hard lesson to learn, I think, for a lot of people that don't have a small business or don't understand audiences if they're been employees and they've never worked on marketing side. So I think I'm just trying to emphasize that is overlooked.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So,
And I also think it's great because your podcast, you know, people there's two different audiences, right? You have students that want to be engaged and listening to it, right? Then you have all these adults that are also engaged in it and either living it and doing it, and now can explain how they're teaching it, and people are recognizing it. And Mark and I both know that in construction, we have to start actually expanding our labor force, and not everybody wants to go to college. So now you can actually, if you love your shop class, you can actually create that skill set, know that there's a future for you when you're 18 and 20, and you can get into construction, or you can get into building cars, or you can get into a trade that can really lead you into not only making a lot of money, but also expanding your mindset and your skill set, because not only are those things being taught for those specific professions, but then you bring technology into it. And now you've just exploded into another part of how to be this functioning person that actually not only has these techniques that they're doing on something, but also using their mindset and bringing technology to master both of them together.
yeah. So like, you know, students, they get the opportunity in a shop class to make something, and then they can actually contribute to, like for instance, in the case of Matt Bloomquist, he's building a house with his students. They're actually making a house, so their kids are contributing to an actual thing that's being put on the market. And you know, it's participation and cross pollination and whatnot is so important, especially for the shop classes, because before the internet, we were kind of like, before social media, we were kind of working like in silos. And sure, we have our local trade show or whatever, but you know, now it's so much better. Instagram, YouTube, and these meetings, it's fantastic, you know. So it's a cool thing. I just want to emphasize that marketing is a massive tool that I don't think is taught, and the understanding that you're serving an audience, you know.
Yeah, and I think like even the guys here right now, I mean, isn't it so great when you can see one of your students just light up to know that they've created something and they actually have it and they know that they've achieved a goal? I mean, you know, Duke, when you see, I mean, kids in middle school, what's their reaction when they're making stuff in your class?
Oh, he's muted.
Muted. They love it. You know, I'm getting them off their Chromebooks. I remember during COVID, you know, the kids were on there. They would come in. We'd only teach half the kids. They'd have like a hybrid schedule. So we taught half the kids on like first 2 days of the week, and then Wednesdays was like a break, and then taught another group of kids. And within like, you know, 3 or 4 weeks into it, these kids were like zombies coming to class because they were only on their Chromebooks. I'm like, guys, put the Chromebooks away. We're done with them. And you know, I got into more of the hands-on projects. They did the designing when they were home, and then when they were in school, I didn't want to even see the Chromebooks, and they were happy just to sand. You know, like we wouldn't share tools. They'd have their own. I'd have enough hand tools, you know, to do cutting and filing and sawing and stuff like that. And we'd have to do like extra sanitizing, but they were happy just to sand wood. You know, finally, you see smiles on their faces instead of just, you know, that.
Yeah, it's activity, right? They're using the other part of their brain, which is so great because you're using your left side of your brain, your right side of your brain. I mean, and you're having an interaction with something to physically use your hand and actually have a goal to create. I think it's an amazing opportunity for anybody to be in that space.
Yeah, and for a middle school, it might be the first time they use these tools. Even a screwdriver, and this exposure, you might light a spark and influence a kid and change their life forever, just from one class.
I remember
Totally.
I had middle school shop, though I didn't have shop class in high school, but I had 1 year of middle school, and yeah, we were sanding, and I remember the guy would ask me, okay, you got to sand it to like 600. I was like, what's that? And so he's like, it's got to be as smooth as a baby's bottom. That's what he would always say that. And so you'd go there and you'd check, and you couldn't believe it, but you could actually get it really smooth. I was like, I didn't realize that was even possible. I was like, it's wood, it feels like a marble.
Yeah. One kid said that just recently to another kid, and then they got a conversation about, how do you know how smooth a baby's bottom is? The other kid was like, I have a 2-year-old brother. So now I just say, as smooth as your face, not mine.
There you go.
I really say as smooth as a salad bowl, right? Because you have the wooden salad bowls, and those are about an 800, I think.
Oh, wow. Okay. Nice.
Yeah, you got to watch. You can't say that anymore. You might offend somebody.
Oh, geez. Old school. Oh, my God. All right. So, Audrey, so what happened next? So I
had this whole journey through marketing, sales, all of that. And then I worked for a publishing company and then in between that, in 2004, I decided to start another business, and it was called Petacular, which was pet magazines. So I did, because we were either going to do something with babies or something with pets, and we decided to go down the pet avenue. So I was a publisher. So I published in Colorado Springs, Denver, and Boulder. We had a quarterly publication, and then we did these pet directories. And then what we did was we had, when we first started our company, we had our first pet expo in Colorado Springs. We had 75,000 people attend because we did it at a shopping center.
Oh, wow.
So the shopping center, we had a main stage. Isn't it crazy? Because here's the thing, this is what I talk about. It's always about creative marketing, creative ideas, right? And if you have a built-in audience, people that are already attending and going to some place, and you're advertising that month in that store and people are walking in and out, oh my gosh, you have built-in traffic. So we had 75,000 people. It was the biggest expo ever. From there, we also did these things called yappy hours. So we would go to local pubs that were pet friendly, and we would have fun events where people would bring their dogs, and we would have beer vendors, and we would have Kong and PetSmart and all these big retail places that would come and have these awesome fun times. It was the best.
That's so funny. Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
The built-in audience.
Yes.
That's something I talk a lot with my friend he's got a film festival called the Big Apple Film Festival.
Okay.
And he only books movies, because it's a film festival, they apply to get in. He always books movies that have an audience that's built into the film. They want to see the film, not just because of the film, but because they're a fan of whatever the topic was, so he calls it the built-in audience.
Yep. It is important.
Mm-hmm.
So from there, went into sales at a magazine, and I met my first luxury custom home builder. And when I met them, they needed helping with their branding. They needed help with sales strategy, execution. And when I worked for them, after getting all of that marketing and branding done, they asked me to do sales. And within the first 6 months, I sold over, I think it was $11 million worth of homes.
Wow.
Insane, right?
Yeah.
But they had a really good product. We also worked out of, it was like a $1.2 million home in this really fancy neighborhood. So people could come and meet me in their product. How smart is that?
Right.
So they had a home, and I was working in that home to showcase it. So it was a really, really easy strategy. But through that experience, I always felt like I wanted to be my own builder. Right? I kept learning from them, and I was like,
that takes confidence.
I know.
That's awesome. Wow.
So made a lot of money for them, worked in Denver, did the same thing. And what I learned was I really want to be my own builder. So I started studying modular construction.
Mm.
So now we come full circle.
Why modular?
Okay, I'll tell you why. This is what
how did you go from $1 million homes that you're selling to like, I want to make it in pieces?
Okay, this is so fascinating. So
for
when you
for the record, Ron just stole Tim's question.
Oh no, Tim is gonna. I'm sure.
But they're better built.
Will it hold up or something like that? He'll say.
Ron,
I can't wait.
They're better built houses. To be honest with you.
Tim, that's not your role. You're supposed to be a skeptic.
Yay, Tim!
I am the positive person today.
I love it. We're changing him. We're changing him.
The first one to flip Tim over.
Oh my God, Tim! Yes.
I love modular homes. What do you?
Okay, so I'm going to give you the story. Okay, so I was hearing that on the East and West Coast, they're building these multi-million-dollar homes, and I'm like, how are they doing it? And not only were they executing it, they were reducing labor on site. They were reducing the amount of costs. There was all these benefits, and they're using less materials and less disruption on site. So I was sold. Like, I was studying it. I was amazed by it. So in 2017, I started Modular Sure Site, and it was called Modular Sure Site because I was a general contractor going in and doing the site work for these homes. So I went around and I met 14 different modular dealers, which basically you go to their location. They're like a retailer of modular homes. And then they need someone to do the general contracting or the site work in order to have those modular homes go to the site and be connected to the foundation and get site work done, right? So in 2017, I started Modular Sure Site, which is basically a company that did general contracting or site work with different factories. Okay. So in July of 2017, I knew how to market. I knew a lot about building, but I was never in the role of operations. I was always in the role of doing marketing and sales and strategy there. So I met over 100 builders in Denver to work with me to be a general contractor because I have to have a general contracting license, which takes 2 years to get in Denver with an experienced general contractor in order to do my business. So I found one after 100 builders that I met, 100. So I found my builder. It's a lot. I found my builder, and I'll tell you what was so great about this builder. His name was Greg Crom. He's with 303 Development. He is still running his business. He is a traditional construction company, right? They do multifamily, they do luxury custom home building. I mean, they're a really solid company in Denver, Colorado. So he was like, Audrey, I've been hearing about modular construction. I will work with you. I will help you on the operations. I will set up this company and we will get this thriving. I went and I was able to, oh, look at that. Yeah, that's them. Look at how amazing they are. So I basically contracted 4 projects. So interesting enough, my projects were $375,000 up to 1.2 million. So when you're thinking modular, a lot of people get confused about modular construction. And I'm just going to give a brief overview. So modular construction has been around for over 100 years. Basically, the premise is that you can build your home in a factory, and it can come in several different offsite solutions. But the solution that we are working with is modular construction, which means it's almost like a Lego. It goes down an assembly line, and this box that would be like 15 by 60 feet goes down the assembly line. And as it's going down, the walls are getting built. The roof system's getting built. The floor system's getting built. The cabinets are getting put in. The appliances, the light fixtures. So the end of the assembly line, you have a fully furnished box, right?
Yeah.
So that box then goes to the site, and the foundation and the site work is very similar for that general contractor on site. You have foundation, you have excavation, you have your laterals. You are going to be doing the plumbing connections. You're going to be doing all the MEPs, the lighting, the plumbing, electrical, HVAC, and then you have some site work that's going to be completed there, and then also connecting, like Mark was saying. So the box comes to the site is already prepped, the general contractor is running the project, and then you have a set and stitch team that comes to the site. They order a crane because these are about 35,000 pounds, these boxes. They pick them up by the crane, they place them onto the foundation, and then your set and crane company, or the set and stitch company, connects those to a foundation. They're licensed. They have to know what the structural components are in that plan set, and they connect it and it gets inspected. Then the general contractor finishes it, right? So
are those set and stitch people part of the modular home like company?
No, that's the interesting thing about what's happening in modular. Some of the factories that are building product only build houses, or they only build buildings. So then it's up to the person that's working with them, the developer or builder, to contract the set and stitch, and also contract the transportation company to get the boxes at the factory and ship them to the site. Make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. I was, I mean, I've seen these modular houses go up really quick, and I've always wondered, how does that piece get, I guess, keyed together or brought together? And now that you answer that question for me.
Right. And here's the interesting thing. So when we think about houses and we're looking at a site and you're seeing the framing go up for the house, right? And usually it's like it takes 6 weeks for that framing to get up, and they've got people coming in and out and lumber's coming. Well, the interesting thing about modular and why it's such an effective form of construction is, one, when it's built in the factory, the system has to be very stable and structurally sound because it's actually traveling.
Oh.
And then, right? So you're going to get better quality. You're not going to get mold in your house because there's no weather elements. You're going to get very plumb walls. You're going to have a really sustainable structure.
There's no, I don't want to say there's no weather delays, but
there are no weather delays. That's correct.
It's minimalized because everything's being done inside. And I guess you only have the set and the stitch people where they potentially have weather delay, because now those people are outside. So the idea is that these houses, literally, they just take these boxes and they stack them, and they're like stacked in like 3 days, and then they're done.
Actually, they're actually stacked faster than that. So the project that I had in Colorado in the mountains, I had a 4-box modular. The house was, I think, 2,400 square feet for the 2 levels, and then we had to finish a basement. It took less than 12 hours to set those 4 boxes. And then after the boxes are set, then you have to connect all of the utilities. You have to do all the site work. So basically, for the house that we built, that 4-box modular home that we built, that was a custom home, usually would take a builder in that area anywhere from 18 months to 36 months from beginning to end to finish that house. Our house took 12 months.
Wow.
And the other cool thing is, with modular construction, because it's done so quickly and you're able to get the project done faster, it saves you on time. So your construction loan, you're not paying extra interest, right? So you're saving money. You have less people on site. So there's not as many tradespeople that are in and out, because the house that comes there is about 90% complete.
Wow.
And then you also have the appraisal value that increases.
Wait, why?
Because when you have modular construction, you're paying, I'm just going to throw some numbers out there. Let's say you're only paying $100 a square foot to build that house. But if you were going to build it traditionally in that same neighborhood, that neighborhood dictates a $250 square foot price point. When you buy things so when you're buying a modular home in a factory, their buying power is greater. So they're able to buy more materials. They're able to buy things at a lower cost because they have such volume. So that brings down your costs in order to buy that home.
Oh, you mean the town can dictate how much they charge per square foot to
build? Yeah. So think about it. Let's just talk about your neighborhood. How much does it cost for you to build a house in your neighborhood? Like if you were going to throw out a number.
I don't even know. I don't even know if you're allowed to build anything here. You got to be like a huge developer. There's no room. You'd have to knock something down. There's nothing here.
Well, let's just go. Let's just go. Like,
probably like 250 a square foot.
how much?
What's that?
I would have to guess in Ron's area, probably 250 a square foot.
So 250 a square foot to build. So you're building that same thing, but the house is getting built in a factory. And here's the other cool thing about modular construction. Once you have your plan set complete, it goes to the state and you get a state stamped set of approved plans. It has to go through the inspection process. It has a process of how those plans are going to get stamped, right? So when you purchase a house or you're building a custom home, typically you'll hire an architect. So that architect can charge you, let's just say $10,000. When you build with a modular factory, a lot of them already have set plans. So you pick their plan, you might actually tweak a couple of things. That same plan set is going to cost you $1,500.
Oh, wow. That's interesting. This
Right?
is interesting. Wow.
I know we could
Audree,
talk about
you've come a
there's
long
so many
way since-
insider secrets you guys are getting right now.
This has come a long way from middle school shop class. You know, I wanted to go back a little bit, and you're talking about that you were doing the sites.
Yes.
How do you know how to do sites? You were in TV production and marketing. Where is the
I would watch. So when I worked for that luxury custom home builder, I would watch how their process to build, and I would examine it and study it. So I would go out to the sites and I'd be like, they do excavation, then the foundation. And then I started learning about build schedules and building systems. So I was just learning like how you would learn in your shop class, right?
Yeah.
There's steps to getting things done.
I'm in awe because I'm like more like a car guy, and the building thing is still like a mystery to me. I'm still figuring the whole thing out. I really love learning about construction and the thermal break from Mark and stuff. And now modular, it's awesome because you're getting more into the car world. You're like, hey, it's built in a factory like a car. I'm like, oh, that's something I understand. Hey, Steve,
Exactly.
in the house. He just joined. That's cool. So this is so cool. Okay, so now we got what's up, Steve? How you doing? He's settling in. He just joined. So
he's on mute. Okay, so long story short, I kind of briefly explained, but here's the interesting thing about modular construction. There's about 250 factories in the US between a panelized factory and then a modular factory. None of them run the same way. Not one factory.
Okay.
So when I was doing these houses and I had 5 houses, I had to learn how each factory was building their product and knowing how to communicate. So I started learning that skill set. And here's the coolest thing about modular. So when I was building these homes and I was learning through the build process and ordering materials and doing all of this, I kept getting faster and faster at the build schedule. So by the last project that we had was a 1-box modular in Denver. It was about 800 square feet. It was only 1 box. It took us literally 3 hours to set it and get it on the foundation. It took us 28 working days to get that house to completion. Now it took 5.5 months to get the building permit, but it took us days to get that house done.
Wow. That's
so I was sold. I was like, this is the most amazing thing. Like, if I can do this, a person walking into this and learn this is fascinating. So then I elevated my game and I started getting into consulting. I started working with developers and builders, and I thought, I have the experience. I started doing these projects. I learned all these different things from structural engineers and civil engineers and architects, and then talking to the factories. So I started consulting with developers and builders who were traditional, wanting to move into modular construction and bringing them through the whole process.
You're bridging the gap there. So, and you got the right energy. It's awesome. Go ahead, Tim.
Are the roofs stick built, or are they also
Tim, that is a very, very good question, and I love your positivity here tonight. I'm very proud of you. It all depends on the manufacturer. If the roof line is so complex, a lot of the time you'll have a roofing company come out. But then there's also modular companies where they have a hinge roof. So the roof is down flat for it to travel, and then it hinges up, and they put their brackets in there to solidify the structure. Then they have their the roof seam that actually has to be completed on site, and some of the shingling, but you still have to have a roofer complete that and inspected.
They add the ridge vent, but the entire roof is, since it's a gable, is folded over itself. It's baffling, and you wouldn't think it's possible, but they bring it into event centers. They unhinge the roof, they slap on the ridge, they have a show for 4 days, they hinge back the roof, and they take it down the street.
So
like lickety split.
Frank Cockevel did that on his house build that he did for Habitat. He had the hinge roof, and they moved it, and they did that thing with his school. So I'm familiar with the hinge roof, but I wasn't sure if they still did like stick building on the roofs themselves, or they brought in like prefab trusses and then set them up, or do that kind of thing. So I mean, I guess there's really any option is viable with a modular.
Correct. And it all depends on what your plans are. What's the structural capacity? What are we looking to build? How is it going to get inspected? All of those different pieces when it comes to construction all have to be considered. Right, Steve?
Yes, ma'am.
What else?
Thanks, Steve.
What else goes in the modular? You have plumbing and electric?
Yes. And the cool thing is when the boxes connect, the electric actually are like these plugins. They plug into each other in order to have the electricity go through the house.
Wow.
And then yes, it's super cool. It all connects.
It's just like a car going together, like subframes connecting with the harness already on it.
I'm guessing you're right. I don't know enough about cars, but I'm saying yes.
Yeah, I mean, just think it's like they make these. Sometimes they'll take a whole like Tesla will take the motor and the suspension and the axles and the wheels. That'll be a unit, and the car will be hovering above, and it floats over. And they go and then done. Keep it moving. Plug the thing in and roll it down the line. The battery too is just one thing. They don't build them on the car like they used to. Very cool. This is excellent. It's so exciting. So now, okay.
So now let's go into OffsiteDirt, right? So
sure.
We're building projects, we're doing developments, we're going through this process, and I am like you. When I first got into this form of work, I knew that I couldn't learn enough. So I started a podcast with Devin Tilley called System Build Lifestyles. That's on the art of construction. And we would dive deeper. So I started meeting and reaching out to people like Brentwood Homes that was on the East Coast that you guys probably all know them. Unity Homes, I think they're called too. I talked to guys at Katera, which is no longer. I talked to a lot of people in our industry to start learning more and more about this form of construction. And then 4 years ago, actually, I started the Offsite Construction series, and I started interviewing CEOs at factories and different architects, because again, I wanted to keep learning and actually creating a community for people to start talking about it, because nobody was talking about it. No one would give me any information. I had to find out all these different ways to connect with people and follow them so that I could start this dialogue and understand it more. And through that, OffsiteDirt was the brainchild. And then I met Mark. And then Mark starts teaching me we're not only talking about offsite solutions, he starts bringing me into high performance and passive house and building science. And I'm like, holy cow. It's like when you start your car and you're doing your, first small car, and then all of a sudden now you're doing your car that has electric in it. It's like everything, technology keeps expanding this opportunity for us to build better and do things that are more genius.
Now, it's just amazing how fast you picked all this stuff up, then moved through it, and you're an asset to the industry. I can feel the energy. So now I have some questions about the modular, but maybe we should get into the OffsiteDirt site. What you're doing currently. But okay, let's hold off on that for a second. Let's talk about the actual thing that arrives. Is it more like is it just a house that's been built off-site, or is it actually a new type of construction? Like, is it a product? And what I'm bringing you to is there's this popular thing people are talking about called boxable. Now, I don't know where boxable fits and sits, because I'm in the car business, and I wouldn't even know where this fits. Is boxable a gimmick? Is it a real thing? Where does it really fit? And is that something that you guys look at?
So boxable is modular, right? Boxable was created. I think Elon Musk actually supports it. That's what I think I heard. I'm not sure. So boxable is the same kind of premise. So it's a box that all comes up and your wall systems all come together. So does your roof system. So it is an offsite solution. It all depends on, I think everybody has a different name for it or how they want to include it. But yeah, I would say boxable is a modular system. It's an offsite construction solution.
Nice. It looks wild, and
I'm interested in this being recorded. Steven's comment on what he's seeing on the screen.
yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, go ahead.
It's cool.
So I think the reason why modular is coming back, or why boxable is here, because we all know there's about 5.5 million homes that are needed today because we are in such a shortage of homes. So the solutions need to be faster, quicker, more efficient. They have to be built better. They have to be, there's more product that needs to get out there. And what we're seeing in the current marketplace is modular or offsite solutions are only about 5% of the marketplace, but there is predictions that in the next 10 years, it's going to be about 25%. And the reason being is that a lot of people aren't going back into the labor force. So now we come to shop class, right? And that's what's so great, because if we can get younger adults, younger children, people to see that there are teachers and programs out there that they can start using their hands and their minds to build, then we are creating more opportunities for them as they grow. Not everybody wants to go to college, but they may certainly want to build a house, like we were talking about with Matt Bloomquist in Taylorville, Illinois. He is teaching his students in high school how to build a house. How many people do you know how to do that? That's an incredible skill set. That will teach you how to do something for the rest of your life.
I do.
Let me ask you a question, Audrey. Just for context, for me, for the layman's guy, new to construction, what's the difference between the Sears house of long ago that you bought off a catalog and, let's say, the modern day offsite construction situation? So
I love that. Yeah, I love that you bring that to the forefront, because that's exactly how it all came about. There was a guy, his name was Buckmeister Fuller.
Oh yeah.
And Buckmeister, right. And Buckmeister Fuller was kind of this genius. I almost feel like he was like an enigma. He had these visions that nobody else had about building. And so what he is very popular about is building the geodesic dome, right? Being able to build, taking panels, putting these things together, like you see at Epcot, that big dome. You can actually take all of those pieces and create this function or this building from pieces. They all are built in the factory, they're built somewhere, and then you come to site and you assemble these pieces to make a structure. Same thing with Sears, right? They actually had all these pieces that were flat packed to a house in contemporary terms, right? They were probably all pieces that were dropped off by a truck, and they said, here's your plans. You can actually build your own house. We're going to give you everything you need to build your own house. Here you go. There's really no difference. The only difference is
so they would just, here's the material and the plans.
Yes.
They would just drop it off.
No, it was more than that. It wasn't just the material and the plans. The material was in most cases all pre-cut.
Oh,
Correct. Yes.
Wow.
Yes,
So-
that's correct, Mark.
You can get advanced packages that included the trim and whatnot, but typically this was a sweat equity thing where you would put the shell up, right?
Mhm.
And then over time add everything else, which there wasn't a lot to add back then, right? But you had a roof over your head, and you had walls, and you had a window, and you had siding. So aesthetically, it met what the town needed. But to a building code standard of today, night and day, aesthetically, highly attractive, fast and accurate.
Yeah.
So it's
see
an
it.
IKEA home.
Yeah. Except there was words on their directions, not just Scandinavian cartoons.
And it wasn't particle board. It was real wood.
I had the wrong
It,
one.
it didn't come with an Allen key, Tim.
There you go.
But okay, let's talk about that. Let's talk about IKEA for a second, because I really want to stress this, because I think it's important to say. It is so great that we can have companies, maybe we don't agree all about the philosophy of how they built it or what the product is or anything like that, but it empowers us to be able to build. We're actually given a box of things so that we can build and do it on our own. And for that, I think it's genius, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's interesting in the world of cars, this would be considered a kit car.
Yes.
Now, actually, this is a very interesting point to bring up. Okay. In the kit car world, there's a whole side to the industry that is notoriously bad quality, notoriously bad design, notoriously cheaply put together. Okay. But then there's some people in the kit car industry that took it upon themselves to make a very high quality product that's even better than the original that it's copying. So I'll give you an example. Factory 5 Racing has a car that looks like a Cobra, and it is built to race car standards. It is better than the original. And you get the frame, you get the one piece cover, almost like a toy. You get a one piece cover, and you get everything you need except for drivetrain, like engine choices and stuff like that. Wheels, you don't get anything that makes it go, stop, or steer, but you get all the pieces that would receive those parts. And then you have a donor car. So you have an old Mustang. You take a Mustang, you take all the go, stop, steer stuff, put it on the car, and you have yourself. And it's all modular, and it's done really well. And they actually compete. These cars can be on the track, and so it is a kit car, but it is not your dad's kit car. This is like a real deal Holyfield here. I'll just show you a picture right now.
Ron, you said it doesn't have the go, stop, steer stuff, so you could actually get that thing and outfit it with the inner workings of, let's say, an electric vehicle.
Absolutely. And in fact, there is one that lends itself to that. They built one that was built specifically for Subarus. And so it's all Subaru parts, but you don't have to use that. It's lightweight. It's a good entry point for for electric cars. And some people have done that. And look how good these cars look. They're
beautiful. I want one.
That is not a toy. That is a real deal. That's a real car. So it's interesting. I would guess it's kind of similar to your industry in that modulars come a long way.
Agreed. And we still face those same things that you were just talking about there, right? People that don't understand modular and they get it confused with manufactured. Modular is built under the IRC or the IBC code, which is exactly the same code as traditional built. So there's a lot of those same things. It's all about education.
Oh, so wait a minute. So maybe you could help. I didn't realize there's a difference between modular and manufactured. Those are different. Okay. Is it manufactured? It arrives done?
Manufacturer is built under the HUD code. right, Mark? If you get me, I don't know if Mark wants to elaborate because I always like his insight. But Mark, right? I mean, it's built under a different code, so there's different regulations, there's different inspections.
The HUD code was brought forward basically for our quickly produced housing stock that was needed after the war, right? So how fast can you make these? And it was typically done by, you know, the factory mentality of fast, right? And efficient. So it didn't need the same level of robust standards because it wasn't necessarily designed for a duration, right? Like a typical house under the code should have some sort of durability and longevity to it. The HUD was, let's say, shorter lived.
Right.
Okay.
Right. So there is a big difference when you're looking at you know, what kind of constructability do you have on this product?
Cool.
You know, when you see, Ron, when you picture like who is the person that pushed the manufacturing housing, like Desi Arnaz pushed the manufactured housing. So your wall panels would be you know, less than 1/4 inch thick masonite, right? And it had some sort of a print on it, and it would put on there versus an IRC one would at that stage have lath and plaster, but then later on drywall, right? So different built up layers.
It's a progression, right? We're progressing, and here's the thing I want our audience to understand. Not everybody wants to build modular, which I am certainly aware of. But here's the thing that I do know: there has to be some solution of an offsite technology or offsite opportunity, because even if you don't want to build in volumetric or boxes or modules, many of them are walking into a panel system where their whole wall systems to their house, so the 4 walls, the roof, and the floor can actually be built in the factory, and then those are shipped to site and those are assembled faster. And the reason why we need these efficiencies, again, is because we don't have enough labor to be able to do all these skill sets. We don't have as many craftsmen out there. So we're trying to figure out how do we make these things more efficient, and in the respect of high performance in building science, now we're making them where they can actually have a better thermal system or energy savings in these panel systems. So I'm not saying that modular is for everyone. It's not, but I am saying that there is a huge movement towards it. And I see it, the most expansive area where modular is becoming more successful is in multifamily, high rise. A lot of people don't know, but there's a lot of big brands out there, a lot of hotel brands that are built with modular construction, but they really don't want a lot of people to know how they're building these buildings because there hasn't been the most positive influence, kind of like the same thing you were talking about, Ron. Not everybody wants a kit car because it's the, you know, it's not the uneducated understanding of the process.
Well, that's how they build cruise ships. They build the cruise ships like that. You know, they build them in little sections and they outfit them all, and then they put all the furniture in them, and then they just crane and lift them in. Like, so if you're on room, 7403, they take room 7403 and they build it and they put it right on, and then 7405 goes in and 7407 goes in, and it's just the same way.
Huh. Interesting. Didn't think about that.
What number goes first, Tim? Is 774 what?
03.
703. Got it.
I'm on the odd
they
side.
launched the cruise ships too. That's the best video ever. You got to show that, Ron.
What is it?
Launching of cruise ships. You've seen it, Tim.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Oh man, if you don't get out of the way, that last one billows out and that dude gets thrown.
Interesting.
Tim's for the win today.
Yeah, man. This is funny. Yeah, so that's pretty cool. So now what was I gonna say? So what is okay, so you're saying it's popular to do the multi-family homes now, right?
Right. And the reason being is that we can construct a whole building, let's say 72 units, within 3 weeks. instead of, 8 months on site, right? So you've got that great efficiency. And depending on how it's designed and constructed, there's just there's a lot of safety on site. We're not having all these people tied into the building for days on end to be able to build the structure. So there's less people falling on site. There's less people coming in and out of the building. There's just a lot of safety benefits that we're seeing. And then there's also less material waste, which we all love, right? Because everything that's built in the factory, every piece is used.
Yeah.
So you don't have extra lumber on site. You don't have things that you're throwing in the trash. So again, we're helping the environment. It's really a more sustainable type of building system.
So what I'm getting from you is that it's not just a choice of like a different flavor of candy. It's a solution to a labor problem, to a schedule problem, to a code problem, so it's interesting. So it moves it quicker for all these things. If you don't have enough labor and you have this crazy schedule, yeah, you want to get it done. Also the waste, you're right. Like instead of sawhorses and a guy holding it, like with a circle saw, it was pre-cut on a CNC machine. Much better.
Right.
Yeah.
And the other thing that's kind of cool about modular construction or planning, or even if you're doing a panelized system, it's all about the pre-construction, right? So you're building your team, you're putting all these things together, you're making all of your selections at one time. So when you build a regular custom home or another home, your client has to go to a design center and they have to pick out all their tile, and then they're going to have to go to another place to pick out their appliances, right? And then they're going to have to go to another place, and it takes like time after time to go to all these places. But with modular construction, depending on the product, they actually already have all of those things for you to choose. So you could literally go online and pick everything in your house in 3 hours and you're done.
Wow. Do you have a factory or video you'd want me to refer to that I could show what it looks like when they're building these things in the factory? Is it on the OffsiteDirt website somewhere?
I'm trying to think if there's any real factories. I mean, I think you could go, I don't know if Gurdon has something or Fading West Development, but we can look.
Sure.
Fading West Development is a really good builder. They're out of.
Somebody could find the link for that and just send it to me.
Yeah, I'll try to see if I can find it for you.
A lot of times, Ron, they actually keep that factory process close to the chest, right?
Yep.
Like, hey, that's my idea. I figured it out. No one else knows how to use a left-handed wrench, right?
Very true.
The other part of what she was saying is, in people's final years in a career, you don't want to be doing the strenuous or dangerous work, but you have a wealth of knowledge, right? So if you can drive to a facility and keep your coffee cup on a counter and don't have the drips on your head or the potholes on the ground, you could transfer that knowledge to the factory folks in the next generation and pass it forward.
Nice. We got lucky. We got Matt Bloomquist in the house.
Hey.
And, so he's a shop teacher, as you know, Audrey, that is building a house on a site. I know it sounds funny, but I am just blown away by they pick out a site and all of a sudden they're digging, and the next thing you know, they're laying in the concrete, and then all of a sudden there's a floor and all these insulation ideas, and I'm just like, what? How does this even? It was a piece of dirt before and a couple of kids. I don't get it. So it's amazing. How you doing, Matt? Oh, you got to unmute.
First timer.
Yeah, right. Sorry. Just got back from the job site with the Lincoln Land kids. So we were setting door jams for doors and our closet doors and prefabbing or pre-assembling casing. So talking about pre-assembling.
Yeah.
I love it.
Now,
And that's your college course, right? Because he
Yeah, that's
teaches
the
high
college
school
group.
and college. How amazing
Yeah.
is that? It's
Yeah.
freaking awesome.
Because
Oh,
I
it's
needed more. Oh yeah, tight bond. Yeah, they messaged, they responded. That was cool. The kids get a kick out of using quick and thick.
So the wild thing is you guys are really making a lot of progress on this house. It's getting there. Now, not for nothing, but we're talking about prefab here. And have you considered prefabrication? And are there any pieces to this current build that are prefab, Matt?
The current one, no. We pretty much, the way the timing worked out, everything was just done on site. Obviously, any
You prefab some of the can light air sealing assemblies for the low voltage.
we would, yeah. So I guess, preassemble. I should say we didn't do offsite. But yes, we preassemble as many things as we can. So trim packet, for the window trim and jam extensions, the door casings are pre-assembled. Our boxes, the air sealing boxes, we made these little air sealing plates with boxes that we could seal really well for our lights. We did. We pre-insulated our headers. We made our headers out of T-studs. So, we do have things that's not actually like Lego stack by Lego stack. We put together. In fact, a lot of times when we frame windows on the framing part, we'll frame that whole window unit with header and everything in and drop it into between the plates in one shot, because people can be away from where the action's happening on the wall doing that. So
this is what you prefabbed, right?
Yeah. Yep. Those boxes. And so far worked out really well. The next wall assembly we'll be doing, we may actually be doing offsite assembly for the next house. We have our new shed built that actually got burnt down. That's pretty much open and I should say unused, but open, and part of it's for us. And if this house finishes up in time, actually, I should say, it may not even matter. We may pre-assemble our walls at the school and then have them all delivered to the job site. So that way, whatever the weather's doing, rain, shine, or indifferent, especially this spring, if we're pre-framing the walls this spring to leave them set in the machine shed over the summer, it won't matter if it's raining or crappy this spring. And then and even for next fall, we might just do it inside the shed anyway, just to show the kids the different methods. And of course, that kind of supports our friend Audrey and Mark with OffsiteDirt.
You're the best, Matt. You're the best. And I love that. And I think that's a really good example, Ron, is that not everybody has to use all these different things, but there's small little solutions that they can start achieving. And Matt explained it beautifully.
Nice.
Beautiful.
Yeah. And trim gets used a lot. Like even our base trim, we'll make as many pieces as we can, especially corners, and pre-assemble it. And then if you ever watch it on Instagram or TikTok, the perfect little slide in, almost hear as the trim pushes the arrow out because it fits so perfectly. So, people have been batching work together forever. It's bound to happen. Well, it's been happening for houses for a while, but it's bound to be more of a thing. Mm-hmm. And when I taught at the prison, we pre-built all the Habitat for Humanity's house walls offsite at the prison in the Sallyport and shipped them out. So I've actually done offsite stuff for almost 10 years now. Well, 10 years ago now.
Nice. It's such an exciting topic. I'm in a unique position because I'm probably looking to buy something eventually. And, the stuff around here is just not exciting. So I feel like the prefab, maybe I could get a piece of land and, so if someone were going to do this, do you look at the site first? Do people acquire the sites? Like, what's the process of going through this? Like, do they are they comparing it to a traditional house that's on the market and they just don't want to do the upkeep that's needed to? So let's say they buy a house for $500,000 and then they're like, oh man, I got to throw 100,000 into it. Otherwise it's not even usable because it's got old stuff in it and it doesn't have the insulation. Or are they not even considering that? Like who's the audience and what's the process?
I would say 100% because it's going to be a brand new product. I mean, land is obviously always the key. If you have a lot, a couple of things to think about. If you do have a lot, you got to look where the overhead lines are, because if you have overhead lines in the front and the back of your property and you have two houses on the side, it's going to be very hard to get modular in there, because you got to think there's a crane that actually physically picks up the box and places it over. So you would have to either bury those lines. You cannot take a modular box and move it over any type of overhead lines, right? So that's the one thing. Another thing to consider, because when I was working in Colorado, is can they physically get the box on the truck to the location? If you have switchbacks that are going in a mountain, it makes it really difficult to be able to use that, be able to provide that. But here's some other great things that modular does do. For example, in New York City, there's one of the tallest modular hotels. And the reason why it was so unique is because it was a lot that was very narrow. And so they knew that they could build this high rise quickly and efficiently by moving the trucks in, taking a block off, adding it, right? And doing this quick solution to being able to build that hotel a lot faster. So land is always the biggest thing. And then the next thing is, you got to look at the site and also figure out, is there a manufacturer that's 500 miles from your location? Because anything over 500 miles, rule of thumb is, then you really have to start looking at how structurally sound is that box. And there are many people and many providers that travel longer distance, but in my opinion, in the way that I would look at it, is 500 miles, 700 miles max is the traveling distance that you want from that manufacturer to where your project site is.
Okay. Interesting. This is pretty cool stuff. Now what about how does this fit into passive house and efficiency? How do you
it's interesting because
there
Mark
be
and
like
I
holes in this when you put the box together? Does it not fit? I mean, I don't know. I can't live in a Lego house, although it'd probably be better than what I'm in here. This is the opposite. This is like I always tell people, if it's windy outside and you drop the feather in here, the feather would move sideways. I promise you. This place is, oh my God, it's crazy.
Well, let's. Do you think everybody
I feel
knows
like I'm
what
camping.
Do you think what everybody knows? Like, does your audience all understand what passive house is?
No.
Oh, so we have an expert here. Why don't we ask Mark? Mark, what's passive house?
It's still a mystery. It has yet to be revealed. So what's funny is Ron's exact question on passive house in the U.S. There's three. I should say in North America, there's 3 to 5 offsite producers that do passive house. So they're meeting the standards on thermally broken wall assemblies, air tightness and insulation, certified windows and doors, typically to the triple pane measure, fresh air machines, and all electric efficient systems, right? So there's a couple components to meet. But if you travel into Europe, factory built assemblies are common, and passive house is also a building code standard. So the oil embargo caused people to immediately shift in predominantly Sweden, and then it was replicated in Germany, Switzerland, Finland, and the likes. So that is commonplace. So essentially, North America is 50 years behind the construction standard of quality and efficiency of Europe. So when there used to be I need to find this link. There used to be a program where the people from Sweden would come to the US, the trade schools, and they would learn about our housing, and our trade schools went to Sweden. The program was canceled.
Yeah.
It was canceled because they were all excited to come to the US, and they came and they saw our beautiful 2x4 wall with our tar paper or Tyvek like product, our R11 or R13 fiberglass insulation, and our vinyl siding. And they said, when will you be finishing this? Like, because to them it's a shed, it's not a dwelling.
Oh.
And they were like, you people have no idea how to make a building. So it was really abolished. But there's still programs of people that go over to Europe. And in fact, most people that run factories in the US, they do a tour of their, because that's where all the equipment's made. There's a few equipment providers in Canada, but most of it's designed in Europe, could be manufactured in a few countries, and then it's brought here and it's replicated.
I would imagine that they're under pressure to be more efficient, and that kind of, like the necessity is, the mother of invention, or whatever that saying is. So it's like, I remember, I have some British relatives, and through marriage, and we would go over there, and when we got there, they had this funny thing called zones. So like you would turn the heat on in your room, but that didn't mean that the hallway was heated. And I was like, what? Like, cause I grew up with like one zone, it was on, and and so like over there, like every single room was its own zone. They said, oh, because why would you need the rest of the house heated if you're just in the bedroom?
So
like,
oil is heavily subsidized, right? So energy in North America is cheap, right? And subsidized with some solar as well. Not subsidized, added with solar and hydroelectric. So since it's cheap, you could do that, Ron. It's just a whole different level of understanding. If Audrey were to come out tomorrow and give a moonshot, right? Like Ford or Kennedy said, seriously, and you were to say, we're gonna make houses, right? Like Ford did cars, and we're gonna have 5 million of them done. They will look one way and they must be black, right? If everyone's gonna have that same thing, that's what factories are designed for. But we have streetscapes. People want this and we want that. I mean, eliminate building code, eliminate the financial market, and eliminate real estate people, and you can fix housing.
That's funny. Interesting. So okay, so
health and safety.
So now that we know what passive house is, and it's great because Peter wrote, high performance construction is healthy, comfortable, quiet, dust reduced, resilient, durable. I think that he's really touched on energy efficient and predictable performance, right? So there's all these great harmonious opportunities to building this way. There's not as many factories here that are building it. There are people that are building it in a panel system, but I don't know, and maybe the other people on this podcast know, I don't know very many, if any, fully volumetric passive house standing building systems out there. I don't, but maybe it exists and I haven't heard about it, but I certainly would love to see it.
When you say volumetric, for the layman in the room, you're talking about like a delivered box, right?
Right, that's modular, right? So volumetric just means there's volumes of boxes going through the manufacturing
and then you don't know,
plant.
and then it would be rare if it's a passive house to the
application.
Yeah, but
there has not, to my knowledge, in North America.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
Oh wow! So if you buy one of these modular volumetric, you might not be able to take advantage of what Matt's been doing at his house, which is to test it and hit some sort of standard of how much moisture, how much escaping, how much air exchange, and how much what the R values are. It might be like a lower standard.
Well, no. So
Okay.
modular has to build at a higher standard and a higher building envelope, higher R values because of the existing municipality building codes. So usually they are actually higher than that. And also they do a blower test, and they also have these other tests that have to be done when the house is complete, because they have to pass a final inspection to get their certificate of occupancy. So there are a higher standard that they have to build to. Typically, a lot of them will build above it, but as with any building, you have a building code in that municipality that has to be followed in order to construct the building.
Yep.
Is there some merit? I wonder if Matt could weigh in on this. Is there some merit to doing a like a hybrid? Would you get like the modular delivered, and then you would build traditional around it as some sort of hybrid project? Would that be a good idea? Or do people do that?
Well, I mean, if we go this next route we're planning, we are kind of doing that, because the floor system will be completely on site. We won't put it in sections and have to, pretty much like Audrey was saying, we're in between two houses with a power line over the top. So anything boomed in, I think maybe the back alley doesn't have power lines through, or maybe the front. We only have one access. One will be covered. So flooring system, and that'd be such a big thing for us. Like walls, 9-foot tall walls, we can stop at 16-foot long sections. We can lay them on a trailer, cart them over, no big deal. But floor system, we really don't have the setup to make it wouldn't be as easy for us to build a floor system, because walls we can pick up, as the kids and I can pick up. We don't need a crane. We don't need an extra. If we have a telehandler on the job site, great. The floor system's would be a little bit bigger. So the floor we're actually going to build on site, stick by stick, subfloor sheet by subfloor sheet in place. But if we pre-assemble the wall assembly and bring it all over and stand it up, we could have, like, let's say we have the walls all built before the end of the school year. We come back, August 15th, August 17th, we have a whole house of exterior walls standing up, because it goes up that quick. So, I mean, in that sense, you can do, and when we did the pre-built walls for Habitat for Humanity, we pre-built all the walls. We gave them to the people. They stood those up, and then they set trusses and stuff. So it wasn't like every single thing was being craned and boomed in once. So our walls were pre-assembled, but then they had to set each truss individually. So is that kind of cover, or does that answer what you're saying, or am I hitting it right?
Yeah, I was just curious if you could do like a hybrid.
Yeah, you can mix and match.
Yeah, and I wanted to bring this to your attention, because this is a really cool conversation. So right here we have an architect in Colorado with Audree Construction, Matt McMullen. And those houses are modular with a lot of on-site solutions that are combined to make these custom homes. So they're maybe using the modular boxes as the stability structure, but then, they have these other solutions that they're using these panels or other applications to actually design and create that. And then here's another cool thing. I sent you another link, modular elevators. So there's a company that actually creates modular elevators. So let's say you have a 3-story building and it's not ADA compliant, and now you have to bring in an elevator. You can actually bring in a modular elevator and connect it to an existing building, and now it's compliant. So there's different ways that modular is being produced. There's also bathroom pods that are being produced as modular, where you can actually take a pod of a bathroom, and they actually did this at the Broadmoor Hotel in Colorado Springs, and they brought these pods in and made extra rooms with an offsite solution. So there's different ways that we can use an offsite solution or a modular constructed solution with existing buildings or existing projects.
That's really cool. So if there's something that, I mean, I guess it's like, imagine you got to hire an elevator company. You got to hire an engineer to design the system. Or you could say, hey, it goes here. Just put the elevator over there.
That's right. Right. Yeah. I mean, you can use modular elevators with traditional construction, or you can use a modular elevator with a modular constructed product, right? There's also data centers. So there's these centers, these big centers that are created in a module that are completely with all of the wire systems and all of the connectivity in that box. So it will go to like a hospital, and the hospital will all plug into this data center.
That's
so
amazing.
that's what's happening in that's why I get so excited about this construction, because it's a lot bigger than just building buildings. It's expanding in all these other areas, and it's this underground movement that a lot of people don't know about. And there's so many great technologies and techniques to using these solutions.
Okay, so now let me ask, I'm sure the New Jersey this was Tim's question, probably, like, hey man, like, how much does it cost? This would be like his, so does it cost less or more than traditional construction, or does it depend, kind of like everything else?
It always depends, right? I mean, it will always depend in every situation, but I can tell you one thing about offsite construction, where there is always a savings, there's a time savings. So anytime that you can cut time off interest on a construction loan, anytime you can get people into a building faster, even if it's 3 months faster, you are always saving money. When we're looking at apples to apples build with traditional construction to modular construction, typically you might be able to save anywhere, maybe 10%, maybe 20%. It's all on, like, that's why I love when you're looking at multifamily projects, because when you do a multifamily project, let's say you've got 5 of the same building. And once you get your plan set for that specific building, licensed with the state, then you've paid for your plan set, and you can use that same plan set over and over and over again. So you're saving thousands and thousands of dollars. But the other thing that you're creating is, if you're going to have 5 buildings go up at the same time, and you have your construction crew come in and they actually do all the foundations all at the same time, you're saving money, because the construction people don't have to keep coming back and back and forth. They can get all of it done at the same time. So that's cost savings number one. You're saving on material, transportation. But when we look at what's happening in the marketplace right now with supply chain issues, all building materials are expensive, no matter. I mean, you're still getting great buying power from the factory. So there's some savings there. But really, it's kind of like an overall project outlook to see where is the savings and how much cost savings can you have.
Nice. Interesting. Very cool. Okay. So, Mark.
Another thing, Ron, real quick to add to that. If you're doing a commercial property, the sooner your doors are open, the sooner you are in business. So I know we talk a lot of residential, but if you flip it to the business side of things, are you opening this year? Or are you opening first of next year, kind of thing, right?
Mm-hmm. Good point, Matt.
And I like what Audrey said about the loan as well. So you might be outlaying all this money and waiting for it to finish to get, I guess, appraised. And then that's that process. If that takes too long, things could change.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's never fun. It's never fun to get a construction loan on like a new house or a commercial loan, and then go back to your bank and say, oh, by the way, I need 6 more months. Let me tell you that conversation is very uncomfortable. And a lot of those lenders might not really be privy to doing that. It depends on your lender and how does that all work.
Let's let Nick, if he wants to weigh in on the fire experience. He's a fireman. I mean, I'm sure wood is wood, whether you've made it in a factory or you cut it on site. But is there any thoughts about stuff like this, Nick? What do you think?
Well, any of the modern stuff is worrisome as far as, PGI studs or not the studs, the floor joists and open web presses and presses for your roof and everything. But I mean, we deal with a lot of modulars around here. It's a common way to build, and we haven't had any, knock on wood, that have gone up. But the engineered aspect of anything, any modern construction, is always the issue. But we haven't had anything direct that's been an impact. But what I was going to say is, I was looking at adding my current house with a modular as an addition, but since they can only, I think the wording they used when I asked was they have to be sold with a full kitchen in the structure to be considered a living dwelling, and that's the only way they can sell it. So I would have to buy a whole modular to attach to my house and then demo the kitchen out to be able to have it as an addition. Does that make sense?
Right.
Yes, you're right,
Really?
because it has to go through an inspection in order to leave that facility, because every modular factory has to have a quality assurance manual that talks about every single assembly that's going into that module, right? And so in order to do that, they also have to build to the building code of that specific element. And so they can't, from my understanding, they can't let a module leave unless it's a full structure incorporated into that plan set and then expected in that efficiency.
Wait, but you can't just buy an addition? I'm so confused.
No, he could do a panel system.
No.
That would probably be the best solution, but I don't think you can buy a module that's just a box going out.
Oh.
But I do have something about the fire thing, which is interesting on multifamily. A lot of the factories that are doing that actually have a third party company that will come in and put the sprinkling system in. As the modules are going down, they'll get inspected. And then when they get to site, they'll actually hook up all of those and have their final inspection so that they are fire approved. So I do know that they do that in factories.
Okay, I have a very layman's naive question. I really don't know much about this. I have a friend in California that has, I guess, what's considered a modular home, and it's a double wide, and the roof is like this. And she's got sprinklers, but I don't have sprinklers here. Why does she have sprinklers and I don't? I mean, I understand it's modular, but
so it doesn't have to do with modular. What it has to do with is the building code. There is a regulation where that house is getting built that has to be compliant to the building code of what that municipality is. It's a requirement for the city from safety. Building codes are created for safety.
So even the regular homes that are traditionally built homes, they have sprinklers as well if it's new? Oh, interesting. That makes sense. It's Southern California.
Yeah,
that's
what I was going to say.
I got a lot of fires.
Yeah, she's in the high desert, 4,000 feet up by the Golden Acorn, and they're right by the Mexican border. You could see the border, but they have wind, and so if something does catch fire, it's spreading. And so they have a certain regulations about where your the bushes and where your trees can be, and how much water you have to have on property and stuff like that.
Yeah, same thing in Colorado. There's a mitigation. There's only like how you have trees and how they have to space out the trees. We had to go through all of that when we were building our houses too. There's a lot of concern with that. So yeah, I get it.
Yeah, cool. Okay, I want to shift gears to kind of maybe the last section, which is what do you recommend? Like, what would you want to see the shop teachers teaching? So for instance, you're obviously watching Matt build the house. I'm sure you could weigh in on that. But also I don't teach the wood shop at my school, but there is we have I don't know, I guess it's like a 10 by 10 square foot, house that we're building inside. What would you want to see us do? And that's at the high school level. And what would you want to see Duke do at the middle school level? Yeah. What do you recommend?
Man, it's funny because I think about this right now because there's some exciting things that are happening in a horizon with my company especially. But I think what I'd like to see is, I think at the middle school level, I think what Duke is doing, like introducing tools, right? What do they do? What's the capacity of them? And really trying to get familiar with how they work, because we've got to, build something, right? We've got to understand that. So we've got to understand what tools do and what capacities they have. So I think that's a really a great skill set. When we're thinking about on the high school level, what I would love to see is kind of what Matt's doing. I would like to see more wall assemblies and understanding how that works. I'd love to see more energy efficiencies and being able to actually study more about the science of building. And also from the factory level, I'd love to see more factories open up their doors, or on like weekends, being able to have supervised visits where they can actually go to the factory and see what every assembly, because there could be 17 or 20 stations in a factory. So each station has a specific thing that they do. It would be so cool to have students actually have a test or something where they can go through each one of those stations and understand those specific roles and see if there's something that makes them excited. I think that when you are in a trade, the reason why you're in it is because there's something that generally makes you excited or passionate. And it could be, building walls, or maybe it's plumbing, or maybe it's HVAC, or maybe it's installing countertops. Everybody has a different, unique skill set. And so I think being able to learn what all of them are would be a gift, because not everybody likes to do everything. And I'm sure Matt probably sees that more than I do, but I would love to see that happen. And then the other thing I would really, really love is I would love to see more women, more young ladies get involved, because I think they're just as qualified and they could really create a great future for themselves by building.
Yeah, I agree 100%. The shop classes, generally the girls, they're not kind of drawn to it, but I think that's changing a little with the STEM. And I think what you said about what Duke at the middle school is super important. Duke does a good job. How do you call it, Duke? You call it exposure. Yeah,
you just got to expose the students to the tools, materials, processes, new technology, old technology, see what sticks.
Mm-hmm.
And
clubs, different organizations, competition, make it fun.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. I pulled up a video of I just randomly chose this video, but I found a video of like a modular construction going on and a robot building it in a factory. I don't even see one person. It's the guy behind the camera. It's pretty amazing. And so, like I just got a CNC machine, and we don't have a robot, but there is a teacher that we know, Leif Sorgel, up in upstate New York. He's got a little robot arm, and it can move stuff into place. And this is pretty wild. I mean, they have a nail gun on the end of a robot arm. Like, that's crazy, but you see what's happening is that they're out of the weather. It's moving on a slide. It's going to get cut. It's going to get pulled. That whole robot's on a slide. I didn't even realize that until just now. Yeah. This is wild. Making the whole panel right there. Mm-hmm. Pretty amazing. So, I think that in the design of some of these things, there's opportunity, and it's similar to in your case as well, like the consulting of it. It's not just swinging a hammer, so kids entering these shop classes, if the teacher could explain it, that you don't have to do everything, but as long as you see it and understand the value of it, later on in life, the kids, sometimes they're not, it depends. I work in an urban neighborhood. They're not excited about this, but if they see it later on, they might get into it. And then also there's security systems. A lot of kids are in IT, and they like putting security systems into the buildings, and that's a thing as well. So where do you place it all?
Well, and I think the other thing is, I think the other conversation should be, because a lot of people don't know this. Like, here's an example. I had a plumber come out to my house this week. He was here for an hour and he made $375 for an hour's of work.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if everybody really understands that if you can learn a skill set in a trade, you're making some pretty amazing money. And the reason being is that there's such a shortage of these individuals. So if you can be an apprentice and learn these skill sets, you're making really, really, really good money.
Yeah.
And you also have a product of something to be shown of what you have done. I mean, I don't know too many jobs that you can be in a marketing company and you could put together a whole strategy and you put it out there and you're hoping it works, and maybe it will and maybe it won't. But at the end result of actually building something and actually having that physical structure, I mean, that's pretty empowering.
Yeah, that's cool. It's amazing. The thing is, the kids, they're not motivated by money yet. They're motivated by fun and competition. And
True.
so, yeah. So,
wait until they get older.
Yes, exactly. Wait till they start paying the bills. Yeah. Or they want something. I know. It happens fast. It happens like, whoop,
That facility that you showed, that was Autovol. I toured Autovol a few years back when they were first kind of letting people through the doors. I believe, because they're finished modular, they have a huge parking lot in front where they're wrapped in plastic like a boat and staged. But I believe Autovol at regular shift capacity, even though they're one of the most automated systems out there, I believe they're 12 modules a day.
Okay.
So you could sit and say that's incredible in terms of the housing world. But if you sit and compare it to what could be done, I wonder if that's jaw-dropping to people. But Audrey said it really well. There's a proximity of that area. So Autovol there in Idaho.
Yeah.
They service the volumetric modular community of California mainly, but they needed the land and they needed the workers. So that's kind of why they chose the real estate they did. So the shipping companies make money on the logistics portion.
Yeah. Wow. No kid. Oh, I see. I get you. Interesting. Pretty cool. Well, also, where is Matt still here?
I think he just turned his camera off.
He just turned the camera. Okay. Okay. So tell us what's coming up. Give us Audrey, what's happening?
So I guess the thing that's happening right now for us is that we're really expanding and trying to get more people to OffsiteDirt. We're going to be showcasing it every year. We kind of bring in this new exciting series. Just last year, we brought in this thing called The Dirt, which is our series on high performance building science. Mark really kind of has been showcasing that. It's really his brilliance behind that, and bringing in people that talk about passive house and measuring energy. And so that's been really exciting. And then in February, we're going to have another series, which is going to be called our Marketplace Mondays. And we're going to be showcasing some really exciting construction product that's out there, building materials, those kind of things. And lastly, the other thing is that we've really kind of showcased and brought about our calendar. So, Shop Class Podcast is on there. So you have a link if you ever want to get on there. And
all right, thank you.
We've got the 5-day forecast. We've got other interviews coming up.
I was going to say, Audrey, let Ron click the Shop Class Podcast.
Okay.
And this is the interactive portion, Ron. When you click it, you could see when the event is, and you could go to the event.
Oh yeah, this is the meeting directly, which makes it super easy for people. And
So-
there it
We
is.
just need to get your face on there. We just have your picture. We need your picture.
Yeah.
Well, not if you want it to be popular.
But the other cool thing about this calendar is it's not just offsite construction events. We also have traditional events on here. We have industry events. Go to March. Go to the month of March.
Okay.
So go up a little bit and go to the month of
my
March.
picture, I want it standing next to a modular home. I want to get one of those.
All right.
I'm moving, so this is appealing. This is
I love it. And I'll introduce you to some manufacturers that are around your area to make it a streamlined system. But you can see, like, we have
old houses. I'm not into the old house. I'm not motivated to buy these old houses. I know they have problems. They're like
you should talk to John Cougar Mellencamp. He's into little pink houses.
That's what I need. All right.
Yeah, so there's just a lot of cool things that are going on with OffsiteDirt, and always the other thing that we just started, which I wanted to do last year, and Mark finally really helped me do it, is we at the first Wednesday of the month we do, or actually the second Wednesday of the month. I apologize. Second Wednesday of the month we do our LinkedIn Live recap.
Oh, cool.
So we have this really amazing audience that we've been building on LinkedIn. Actually, the last 7 days, we've gotten 17,000 impressions that have happened.
Whoa.
So we're really starting to get some traction, and it's exciting to see the people that come on there and connect with us. And it's just been a really amazing journey. And we even have Matt's interview that's going to be coming up. It's just really cool stuff. And I think the best part about it is that we're really building a community.
That's awesome. It's
great.
All
about the community, right? That's what we're all trying to achieve.
I like that you have these little
on
click
the last screen, Ron, you have a couple messages to respond on LinkedIn. We could wait if you want to do that now.
Notification 69.
And they're all from me.
Funny. Register. Oh my God. Yeah, there's a lot going on here. That's funny. So these are cool, man. These are great. Okay. Now let me go back to February, more. Okay, January. The World of Concrete. What is that?
Yes. That is a trade show. Isn't that insane?
Yeah. Oh, Vegas.
Ron, if you go to Instagram, a lot of people, Greg, right, from northern Iowa, what is it, Matt? It's Northern Iowa area.
Northern Iowa Area Community College.
Yeah, he's the one that does
NIAC.
the building trades program there. He's at World of Concrete with all the really famous people you see on Instagram. It's happening as we speak. It's really amazing.
He took students.
Yeah, he took 4 students. They toured the Hoover Dam experience.
Oh, cool. Where do I find this teacher?
So NIACC.
Oh, yeah.
His name is Greg with 3 G's.
Yeah, I follow those guys too. It's really, I love seeing their stuff.
Yeah.
He will be on Shop Class Podcast and OffsiteDirt for sure.
Yeah, that's cool. Look at that.
He'll be at IBS too here in 2 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah. Amazing. His and he's doing, he just did a Habitat for Humanity house, and they built all the walls
on
campus and delivered them to site.
And just so everybody knows, IBS is the International Builder Show.
Yes.
It's not something that affects your stomach.
Oh, look at that one. Play that one, Ron. It's not so, yeah, but it could. Look at how cool that is. That's a new DeWalt thing. Look, that's brilliant. That's great.
That's funny.
Hey, Matt, if you got to go to the DeWalt show in at the DeWalt booth, Matt. I bet they have that at the IBS.
Yeah, I saw that. That was wicked cool. 360 camera.
Yeah.
Oh, there's
And,
Mark's
and
cousin
wear
Joe.
your Shop Class Podcast shirt that day.
Oh, yeah. I want to go to the IBS. It's the middle of the week. Got to figure that one out.
2 weeks.
Yeah, in 2 weeks from now. I know.
Yeah, it looks like you're getting a headache, Ron. Are you going to be okay? You might have to take off.
Some sick days.
Yeah. I'm like,
You need some warm, dry weather to clear that up.
oh yeah.
It's insane. That show is really insane.
Hoover
It's a
Dam.
1,000,000 square feet facility that the International Builder Show is, and it's got at least, I don't know what 1,000,000 people that go through that
Wow.
in those 3 days. It's incredible. Matt, have you been there before, or is this the first time?
This guy's got my haircut.
Yeah, so I've been to World of
You said it was
Concrete.
like 70. Go ahead, Matt. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. I've been to World of Concrete a handful of years ago, which is really cool. That's the first time I ever experienced one of these things, which is insane. And then last year, Sashco covered me to come out and present with them in the build show, and then they're doing that again this year. And this year they were doing a teacher appreciation night. So we're trying to hunt down all the trade shop teachers that are going to be at IBS. And
that's cool.
they have a special
That's
invite
super cool.
to that on Tuesday night. So I will be out there. I'm looking forward to, got invited to some awesome dinners. That's going to have some awesome people, and
Good.
super excited. A friend, Dave Cooper, I'll see him. It's there. I just got a couple of messages today. Some people are going to be out there, want to try to meet up and stuff. So it's a run and gun kind of situation. Like I last year, I did not see near as many booths and other things I would have liked to seen, but the amount of people and connections I made counteracted any of that stuff. So I'm pumped. I'm pretty excited to get to see everybody in person again.
That's super cool.
Wouldn't it be cool if they had like a shop class, like they had like a big event for it, like every people around the world all came in, did like
podcast event.
I think you need to do it. I think you guys need to pull it off.
We got no choice. We got to do it.
Mark knows a guy, Greg Galdi or whatever. Maybe he can have some connections.
It'd be so cool.
I can't imagine that politics are involved in the National Association of Home Builders whatsoever. I do have an idea though. Since it's too late this year, next year, let's make sure we raise the money and we bring Tim to the conference as the delegate, and he'll convince them. Tim, I know you're out there listening. You got her back.
That's funny. All right, I got one last little question I forgot about is, let's say someone wants to build a modular construction situation. Where do they even start? Like how would you, like, I understand you get the site, but how do you coordinate the site with the design of the house and what the pieces and the delivery schedule? Or is that the reason people come to you and then you handle stuff like that?
So what I would say is go to OffsiteDirt, because you can start watching some interviews and learning a little bit more about offsite construction. The second thing I would say is talk with a general contractor and see if they're open to building with modular construction, right? Because not everybody understands it or is willing to do it. The next thing I would say is Google modular manufacturers in your area and give them a call and either go visit their facility or have a conversation with them. Also, here's the best part about it. On OffsiteDirt, there's a little button at the top that says modular construction. They can actually click, see that little button right there?
Yeah.
That little button brings you to a program that I actually built for if you want to build a modular home. So you can actually take this program and know all the things that it takes to build a modular home.
What? You've been holding out on us.
Yes, it's only 90.
The answer the whole time.
It is. I keep forgetting that I've put this whole thing together. It took me a really long time, but there's basically.
She's a fast editor. It took her 30 minutes. Right after the Bulls game was done, she had it ready for the sports hour. It's that quick.
This is the easiest. Actually, this would probably be the easiest thing to start informing you, because I walk through what it means to be a builder, how to build a home, what questions do you ask your manufacturer. I talk about how you, how you do a punch list. If you wanted to become your own modular builder or you wanted to be your own general contractor, you follow this and you could do it.
Wow.
This is everything that I've learned through all my homes.
That's awesome. So you just
Audrey,
click
could
on
you
that.
change the name of this to how Ron set it up and call it a modular construction situation?
I think I like that better. I think we should just call it the situation.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Situation Room. We're joined by.
I
we're
love
joined
it.
by
I
Mr.
love it.
G.
Ron, you're doing great. You are, you know what? You're doing awesome. And we're so excited and happy that and honored that you have us on your show to be able to discuss this. That's all that matters.
Nah, this is so cool. I mean, the Shop Class podcast is like a dream come true. I mean, it's like you get to teach shop class and you're not doing it in a vacuum, and you can talk with other shop teachers you watch them become rock stars like Matt, and it's like so cool. And then you watch Duke is like expanding all his knowledge all the time, enthusiast as far as like doing the middle school. It's great. This is great. And I really appreciate you guys coming on the show. Mark, as always, is like just the funniest guy. He always brings the jokes and the tech, and it's great. Audrey, I really appreciate you joining us. We're going to wrap it up right here. We hit the 2-hour mark. Let's wrap it up. And that's great. All right. So we'll see you on the next Shop Class podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. And we're out. That's it.
Thank you. Thanks for all the time.
All right. Okay.